All right, everyone, as we start to wind down and get near the end of day 2 of the Neota network, we still have some fantastic content, including this talk here. Jackson Liu, if you've subscribed to some of the other sessions, should be a very familiar face. Jackson is our global head of innovation here at Neota Logic. And today, Jackson actually wanted to broaden the spectrum of what's available to be built in Neota Logic and how applicable the platform is to a wide variety of industries, use cases, solutions, everything. So this talk, which is Neota, not just for legal, is on the corporate legal law firms, Neota platform, and insurance streams. And Jackson's going to jump into various use cases that Neota can be used in different corporate departments and different functions. So I won't give too much away, but I'll hand it over to Jackson to pick things up from here. Take it away, Jackson.
Thanks, Max, and thank you for tuning into another Neota Network session. Hope you've enjoyed our virtual conference so far and learned a few things along the way. Neota has always been and will always continue to be a legal technology company, first and foremost. Not being overly boisterous here, but I firmly believe we have led the legal tech pack on this idea of no-code citizen development. However, this doesn't mean we can't divert our attention to other verticals where there are alignment. Now, I'm using the term verticals here pretty loosely. There are two perspectives from my side, functional and industry. And before looking at some of these non-legal use cases, let me start at the very top. Here is our elevator pitch, the leading no-code platform for the intelligent automation of processes, documents, and expertise. Now, the concepts of processes, documents, and expertise doesn't stop at legal. In fact, these points of automation can be applied to any functional department in any industry that we can probably think of. That's the power of automation, and that is the power of Neota. If we dive a bit deeper, Neota is a platform. It's not an off-the-shelf solution. It's a collection of tools and functionalities that our users can leverage to build automated digital solutions through no code. Before touching on non-legal use case examples, let's explore the platform as a whole. Now, the Neota platform is built on 4 individual pillars, and these pillars underpin every single solution that is created using our platform. Process automation, the ability to enable organizations to manage tasks and complex processes that span multiple teams, parties, and time. Document automation, very, very self-explanatory, the creation and, more importantly, control over automating templates and precedents. Expertise automation, scaling expertise by automating advice, a guided digital interview, for example, questions, reasoning, and output. And data, it's all underpinned by our data management feature, the ability to manipulate data across solutions or build solutions to reach from and write to SQL and Postgres databases without code. Now, I'll be referring to workflow a bit in this session when speaking to the use cases. And for those that haven't come across this term before, workflow is Neota's drag and drop standards-based feature that allows our users to create process automation solutions. Workflow enables organizations to manage tasks and complex processes that span multiple teams, parties, and time. Now, the Neota Workflow Designer conforms to BPMN standards, business process model and notation, is an industry standard for defining and executing processes. And it's through this standard that I will be referring to a lot of the use cases in this session. The ability to build workflow automation solutions through Neota Logic's workflow tool is probably, in my opinion, the single most valuable feature of the platform. Now, I have a soft spot for procurement, so let's start there first. Here is a BPMN process map of an RFP management solution that has been built with the Neota platform. This particular solution seeks to manage the complete end-to-end RFP process, including tasks like the RFP generation, vendor submissions, any automated weighted scoring assignment, review, and analysis. Now let's start on the top. RFPs are sent in a web-based digital solution to market by email, and vendors are able to enter their responses through online form inputs. Answers are collected and can be presented side by side for each RFP on demand. Where applicable, multiple choice answers are automatically weighted based on preset logic parameters and assigned a score. Open-ended answers are presented to the evaluator for manual scoring and integration into the overall response score. This solution allows strict RFP deadlines to be met by streamlining vendor communication, i.e., any reminders, clarification questions, which can be all automated through the one solution. All communications are stored against the vendor responses and can be retrieved at your own convenience. Here's another example, a much simpler use case, but part and parcel, I think, of any organization: internal purchasing management. Now, internal purchasing management is the process of acquiring products or services in line with internal policies and procedures. Now, even in very well-planned procurement departments, manual purchasing activities often involve repetitive, time-intensive tasks that are very often prone to errors, and this is where automation comes in handy. This particular application takes the user through the internal approval process when seeking to purchase a new item that is payable by the company. The application seeks approval from the requester's immediate manager, and once approval is given, the finance department is able to raise a purchase order if needed. The approval workflow here is entirely customizable, but why stop there? There are other possibilities, such as integrating into your finance software system, whereby the total amount of the purchase order can be inserted into your database automatically. You can read data from a pre-approved database of preferred vendors. These solutions really allow companies to spend less time on paperwork and manual approval routing, and also helps to avoid maverick buying by ensuring every single spend is authorized by the right delegated stakeholder, and every invoice is matched against the purchase order every single time. Now, another big area that I think Neota fits in quite nicely into is HR. And before I dive into a more complex use case, I want to talk about a simple but very clever one that a customer of ours built out many years ago. This particular customer had a department that was frequently hiring high volumes of admin workers. However, the hiring manager needed to go through both legal and HR before they could send an employment letter every single time. Now, realizing the amount of time HR and legal was spending on this relatively low-risk process, the customer built a solution whereby the hiring manager was empowered to automatically draft an employment contract themselves through the solution. Questions and logic were built into the solution, whereby it would pull from different variations of clauses, i.e. least restrictive to most restrictive, based on how the hiring manager answered questions which were normally asked by HR and legal. For example, would the employee have access to client lists? Would they be working with confidential information? This particular solution that you see on screen seeks to automate certain HR recruitment and onboarding activities. This BPMN process map was built using our workflow tool and represents a truly functional solution. So let me take you through it. It's broken down into solutions or tasks. So solution one covers the recruitment and application process. So a job description is posted on an intranet page, a website, through an application that is embedded on such an interface. Potential applicants review the job description, click apply, which takes them into an app. Each applicant is given a unique identifying number. The solution asks, any sort of normal question you would ask of an applicant: your name, your address, your contact number, your emails, past working experiences, qualifications, etc., etc. All answers are stored, and once the applicant finishes answering the questions, a report is generated and sent to the hiring manager. Task 2 or solution 2 is all about review. So the report is sent to the hiring manager with the applicant's answers. If the hiring manager is satisfied with an employee, he or she will send an email to the applicant asking him or her to come in for an interview. Solution 3 covers the interview, and it presents an interface for the interviewer to input interview notes that are completed during the face-to-face interview. Solution 4 is all about reference checks, and it can be sent automatically by email with information retrieved from the applicant's original answers, or by calling and inputting the caller notes into the application as you would have done with the interview solution. The next solution is Shortlist for review and approval. So all information such as the original applicant's answers, any interview notes, any referee notes are sent to an approver for final review, maybe a CEO, maybe a department head for final approval. And then the final solution looks at generating a employment letter. So you could really edit how that workflow works here. A draft letter could be drafted automatically, sent to the hiring manager for review, further editing. Once approved, sent to the applicant for review. There might be negotiation that's taken place, which you can build out in the solution, ultimately signing through an e-signature platform, which you can also build into a Neota solution. And lastly, but not least, something that we haven't mapped out here, which is automating the employee onboarding. So a solution to automatically outline a list of key tasks to complete prior to the new hire's first day. So as the HR user goes to the solution, email is generated from the solution to each person or department responsible for completing those tasks. The email is accompanied by details of the person's role, pay, etc. All tasks are tracked by HR for completion through the Neota Logic dashboard. Task statuses are triggered by a return email from the person or department confirming such tasks have been completed. We're talking about tasks here like finance, setting them up in payroll, IT, issuing new hire ID cards, laptops, email setups, workstations, etc. Direct report managers, activity to do on the first day, and even tasks to be sent to the new hire, what you need to bring, bank account information, tax forms, etc., etc. And finally, we reach risk and compliance, which is a huge one when it comes to any no-code platform, but especially Neota's. Now, many risk-based legislation, think the FCPA in the US, the anti-money laundering, counter-terrorism financing in Australia, require companies to undertake frequent risk assessments across a division or process. A heat risk map now it's a graphical tool used to present the results of such a risk management process. Now, commonly conducted as part of an overarching enterprise risk management framework, it involves evaluating the likelihood and potential impact of identified risks. There's usually various processes that companies would undertake to conduct such a risk assessment. One such example was created using Neota by one of our customers. This solution facilitates the development of an organizational heat risk map by individual organizational board members. So there were two solutions. Solution A is what they call a participant app. Solution 2 is an admin app to calculate the final risk scores and to generate an output. So the concept was pretty straightforward. Each participant here, which were the board members, is given access to solution A, which they would need to give a likelihood and potential impact rating to each identified risk or question that was presented to them. For each question, the user needs to determine the likelihood of the risk occurring and the potential impact of that risk to the organization. Each user's ratings, so on that likelihood and potential impact scale, are scored, collated, and retrieved by solution B. Now, solution B automatically calculates the average rating for each identified risk for both scales, according to how many users there are and what their answers were. The average rating for each identified risk is then displayed in a report with a final risk heat map showing where each identified risk is deemed to sit within the organization for the upcoming financial year. Self-help guides and definitions for ratings and individual risks are shown to the users throughout the solution. Now, you can also create a workflow component to track the response rates to Solution A as the users are completing their questions and allocating the risks. Now, this particular use case, you probably heard me talking about it if you've heard some of my previous presentations. Probably one of my favorites in the years I've been at Neota, built by one of our larger customers, KPMG. KPMG built an app for a Fortune 500 company called the Business Traveler Assist. It's targeted towards global mobility HR teams of large corporations. I put it under risk compliance because of a few things, which I'll take you through. Well, the application will allow you and your expat employees to, input details around your intended travel, automate the assessment of each employee's time overseas from a tax, immigration, payroll perspective, sends a personalized report to each employee. It will track and monitor all employees currently working in a foreign country, directs employees to the right visa online, most importantly, a direct line to other service offerings by KPMG if the client needs further advice on immigration, legal, tax, or other services. And finally, we have a risk and compliance solution that we created for a law firm in the US called Foley and Lardner to help their clients address compliance with the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act, the FCPA. And it's really targeted towards smaller organizations who do not want to form or hire an internal compliance team to help them address compliance with the FCPA. It's a fully integrated FCPA compliance solution, and it has a risk assessment component in it, which was built entirely using our platform. A number of questions which the Foley and Lardner's clients would need to answer. And as the output of those answers, it will create a few things. There's a global heat risk map, which outlines the risk of contravening the FCPA when operating in those non-US countries based on your answers. There's a spider map that is created showing your current compliance against the standards set by the DOJ, SEC. And then there's an overall business risk rating based on where and how you do business. And so thank you for tuning in, and hope we've given you some ideas on the possibilities of the Neota platform. Thank you, and hope to see you again. Cheers.
Thanks so much, Jackson. You know what? I think because we are a platform company, people often think, and as we started as a legal tech specific solution, there's so many different industries that this applies to, and so many different solutions and use cases that can be built, whether it's document automation, workflows, approval processes, review processes. It could be simple advisor apps that you could build in Canvas. It could be complex integrations with other systems. There's so many different options that are available to build in Neota Logic that it's applicable in a lot of different industries. So thank you, Jackson, and thank you everyone for joining us. A few sessions left in the Neota network, and day 2 especially. And thank you again for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you at the next one. Cheers. We'll see you soon.